Hello,
Again.
Kimberly, what's up? So, hi, Erik again. I still love you, by the way, in case you were wondering. And you know,
Like,
he's,
what's that,
he's,
Mom?
he's been doing the shoulder shimmy a lot. That's something I cannot do
Yeah.
without embarrassing myself. Okay, so we just had a long session about energy cleansing. Now, let's talk about energy protection. How do we protect ourselves energetically? Let me see what this blog member said. She said, I was meditating yesterday and I felt something touch my hand and I instantly felt afraid, even though I realized a few seconds after it could be a benevolent being, such as one of my guides or even Erik interacting with me. Should we be protecting ourselves before going into a meditative state or attempting astral travel or sleep? And what other situations do we need to protect ourselves energetically? So yeah, let's talk about when do we need to protect our energy?
Okay. Erik is addressing that person actually specifically and says, like, when you have an encounter or an experience and you immediately feel fearful, he says, one thing I need to clear up, Mom, is when people have like an experience and they immediately feel a little afraid or maybe threatened.
Yeah.
He says, don't basically don't blame that on us. Like, we're coming in to threaten you, because ultimately what you're experiencing is your own point of consciousness. If you're still dealing with some sort of fear, maybe not consciously, maybe subconsciously, then you're going to have that reaction. You're going to feel that or be aware of it at some level. So if you sort of feel like you react with a little bit of fear or you feel threatened, that's something that is happening in your consciousness that you've just become aware of. Mm-hmm. Now you need to work on it. So he says, trust me, we don't come in and go, boo, I'm here to scare the shit out of you. He says, because obviously that would have like a reverse effect. It would not help you evolve and grow. Mm-mm. And we're only here to help foster your own growth into your true being, he says.
Well, not all beings are benevolent, though. Was this a benevolent entity that touched her hand?
He says yes, but he says, again, he says when you, let's say you do prepare for a meditation, and let's say like Susie over here is, you know, at a low vibration. She's going through a lot in her life and she's at a lower vibration. She knows she wants to meditate. And let's say over here, we have another person who's getting ready to meditate, but they seem to do pretty well and to stay pretty neutral and transparent to what's going on in life. Mm-hmm. So naturally has a higher vibration. Mm-hmm. No matter what, when you go into a meditation, you're practicing mindfulness and presence. He says you become present of who you are consciously, of what you are. Mm. And you experience at that level. So first of all, he says, do you need to protect yourself? Yes, but he's using the word protect interchangeably with presence or mindfulness.
Okay.
So it's not like you need to go like stay away and try to create space.
Garlic necklace, right?
Right. But he says, like, when you go into anything, and especially meditation, or situations where you're going to be with like negative energies, he says, all you have to do is be present with yourself, be mindful with who you are, then nothing else can threaten that. If you let it threaten it, that's something you need to work on. It's not because they're a bad person. They might have ill intentions, but it has nothing to do with you needing protection from them. Mm. It has everything to do with you being mindful with who you are. If you perceive something as a threat, then you're still giving that something power over who you are and that's power true. Over your presence.
Yeah.
You're letting go of your worth to that thing that you need protection from. Mm. So he says, but there's varying levels, different degrees of protection. Sure, you might need actual physical protection if you're going to be in a dangerous environment, or energetically protection against, you know, people all around you where it's not that they're having ill intentions or that they're bad, but that it's just a disturbance. Like you
Okay.
could be at an emotional event and then you might want protection from that.
Mm-hmm.
But again, stay present with who you are and nothing will affect you in a way that you need protection from it.
Good.
Because he says that we use the word protection as in like something we want to stay away from or we want to keep away.
Right.
But ultimately, we need to transcend through that. He says we need to move above it, move through it, where we stop giving it permission to affect us.
Yeah.
So
Well, that
hopefully
makes
that makes.
sense.
I'm not sure if I put words on that correctly, but
No, you did. That's interesting. I mean, I never thought. I thought you had to surround yourself with a bubble or whatever. What other beside the protecting? If you do have to protect yourself, and you're not there where you can just be mindful of your own worth and not let these external things affect you, this external negative energies affect you. What other situations should we protect ourselves from? I mean, should we before we meditate do some sort of energy protection thing? And we'll talk about techniques later, but
yeah, that's so funny that you said we're going to talk about techniques later because he says, well, it depends on your technique. So
okay.
hold that thought. But he just wants people to think about this for a minute. He just says, I just want you guys to know that one protection, he's doing this with his fingers, like he's looking at his hands. He goes, one protection mechanism leads to another, and another, and then before you know it, you're enslaved and you're trapped to your own fields of protection, and then that's all you ever know. That's like the point of your consciousness is having to protect yourself.
Oh.
So he says when you go into a meditation, or maybe you're going to go into a healing session and you've never met this shaman before, so they could maybe have ill intentions. Ultimately, what you can do, he's using the word protection, but he's changing it. He's like, what you would say protection, like I'm going to go in and set these, he's doing this with his hands, like set these parameters and protect myself. But ultimately, all you really need to do is just set yourself energetically in a place where you only receive anything that's in your highest good.
Okay.
Everything else, just envision it pass by you. So if it's going into a meditation, you only experience and receive that which is in your highest good. Because that becomes like your technique. Like, what is your technique? He says, when you go into a meditation, do you just go right into it with no intentions? You don't know what you're wanting to get out of this or wanting to experience. That's where you kind of leave yourself in that playground, Mom, he says, of experiences that might make you face what's hanging out in your own consciousness, like fear. So a part of your technique should always be to just cultivate what's in your highest good, whether it's a meditation, whether it's going to see a shaman and you don't know what they're about to do to you, but just set yourself in a place energetically to only receive something that's going to bring you higher, bring you
That's
better.
awesome. So you could just state the intent. I will receive only what's in my highest good.
Right. He says, because if you always need to set protection against something or set up walls or barriers, boundaries, you're just closing yourself in. And you need to look at why you've given that more power and more worth over you. Because ultimately, whatever you need to go like this to and stay away from still has power over you. He says, so that's something you need to spend some time with.
So if you're an empath and you can pick up negative energy, if you go to a party or a crowded bar or whatever, that would be very important to do. Like, I'm only going to receive what's in my highest good. And if you work on the Ouija board, I guess that would be something to do. I receive only what's in my highest good.
Right. He just brought up a really good point. He said, like, if you're an empath, which we all are, but we're not all conscious of it.
Yeah.
Like he's showing someone like going to a basketball game. He says, and let's say, for example, like there's so many emotions at a basketball game. Like people are pissed, people are
happy,
they're tense.
Yeah.
He says, so let's say, for example, you're there, you're at a basketball game, you're very empathic. But the question, Mom, he says, are you subjectively experiencing your empathic capabilities or objectively? Because as soon as it becomes subjective, that's when it like poisons us, so to speak.
What do you
If we
mean
can
by
remain,
objective? Yeah. Well, what do you mean by subjective? Can you give me a more definitive, give the viewers a more definitive
yeah,
explanation?
yeah, he's very specific about this. Like, let's say he's literally showing, I can see an image of him like he's walking on the basketball court down in front of the bleachers, and there's this mom there with her child, very small child, and she's kind of pissed that she has to be there. She's irritated. She has to be there with a kid and try to keep a kid in the bleachers, right? So he walks past and he can feel that tension. But then he becomes subjective with that emotional awareness and going, okay, well, then he identifies with it. Erik is showing like how we go, okay, well, yeah, there's times where I have been annoyed or irritated by a situation and have to be there, and I can relate. So as soon as we start to relate and subject ourselves and become personal with other people's emotions or what they're doing or projecting, that's when we bring it in to our consciousness, our awareness. We begin to see ourselves in that situation too. Might, some things might be a little bit different, but ultimately the emotional energy is still there, and then it becomes a disturbance. So as soon as we become subject, or we bring it in subjectively, or review it subjectively, that's when we like drink it like it's our own poison. But if we stay objective, like I'm observing that mom, he says, who's pissed off and annoyed that she has to try to keep her little baby in the bleachers and it's hard for her. When you can stay objective and just still stay centered in who you are.
So he's just like, hey, mom, it sucks for you. Just like, that's what you do. You just think, oh, it sucks for you, mom. Been there, done that. Glad it's me and you and not me.
You don't even have to like.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, you don't even have to put judgment on it. The more we become intimate with that judgment, the more we start to relate to what other people are going through, the more we saturate their emotions, the more so it's not just like needing protection from that, but being conscious of what we're doing.
Yes.
He says, when we start to relate, oh yeah, I can relate to that shit you're going through because I did that too, da 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 da. Now we've lost all sight of mindfulness and presence in the now, and we're regurgitating an emotional awareness, and then sort of like creating more space for it, being in it as the center of our consciousness, and then experiencing everything that's tied onto it. So if we can remain objective to anything emotionally, energetically, then as empaths, we can stay clean and clear. So he says it just takes mindfulness, Mom, that we're doing that.
Basically,
so
it's
not
the same
like
thing
you need to go to this basketball game. Oh, I'm going to start, kid. But it's just being mindful of what we're doing.
Sure. Just to make sure that you know what's yours. You have to know what's yours and what's theirs, basically. All right, just a couple of quick questions before we close. What's the worst thing that can happen if we don't protect ourselves? And how can we sort that out if it happens?
He's such a smart aleck. When you said, what's the worst thing that could happen? He said, you could experience your own truth, like your own fears. You be faced with and confronted with your own fears. So you need to state your intentions, because otherwise it's like you're walking onto a playground that you don't know who else is playing there. You don't know what else is playing there. So you need to state your intentions and what you want to cultivate from anything, from an experience. If you don't, you kind of like leave yourself in the boxing ring for anybody to hit up, he says.
Yeah.
So state your intentions. And it's not like you're denying or rejecting experiencing something, but if you always set your intentions to cultivate the highest good, then that's what you'll experience. That's what you'll stay plugged into, and you'll manifest more of that. But if you're all over the place, plugging into all of these reactions and different negative vibrations, you plug your consciousness in there, boom, you have a whole reality surrounding that, he says.
Of course, I mean, if the stating the intention that I'm going to only receive what's in my highest good, that's one thing. But if somebody just can't do that properly, obviously there are other ways for energy protection. I know you can smudge with sage if you want to, protect yourself from bad energy in your environment. You can surround yourself with a bubble of golden white light, right? And anything else that you want to share before we close?
He says some people
Crystals?
can't.
Crystals.
Right. That's exactly what he was just going to show. He says some people can't uphold that emotional awareness because they get so easily distracted.
Yeah.
So putting that energy into something like a crystal, he's talking about like psychometry and how objects hold energy. So, and then carrying that crystal, putting that energy in that crystal. When I have this with me, only, things of abundance come to me and things in my best interest happen. And then clearing your energy, smudging, whether it's your hot bubble bath or dancing in the smoke of sage. He says you can do all sorts of rituals to cleanse. It's the intentions that matter, Mom.
Oh, yeah.
He says.
What kind of crystals are we talking about? Oh, sorry. I just want to make sure that we
That's okay.
Give some choices of crystals for people.
Sure. He says, again, it's really up to, okay. He says different crystals obviously have different properties. He's showing if you need to heal your energy, your energy is disturbed, but you're not sure what. He's showing like malachite.
Okay, malachite.
I'm not sure how you spell it. M-A-C-H-I-T-E maybe.
Okay.
Malachite. It's like real green. It's real green. He's showing rose quartz having like it softens your aura. He says it softens your energy so that you're not as reactive and on guard. Rose quartz is very it transmutes energy into like a loving energy.
Oh, good.
He's showing. Okay. He says amethyst. He's showing carrying like amethyst for like being able to make decisions that are in your highest good.
Okay.
But then he's also showing one more, like, okay, so now that thing we talked about, he says with your intentions, if you want to amplify the energy around that, he's showing like a clear quartz, clear quartz crystal.
All right.
But he says, no matter what you go through, even if you say, I put my energy out there to only receive and cultivate, that which is in my highest good, doesn't mean everything's going to be freaking cakes and rainbows and butterflies.
Of course not. We still have the human experience.
He says you might have a difficult situation, but you have to be willing to look at the silver lining. And that's where the cakes and rainbows always are, he says.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't be a victim of your own ego going, well, I thought I was doing good, and then look what happened. It's not always going to be easy, but it's always going to be worth it.
We have to have lessons to grow. Well, that's a good place to end off. I don't want to run over into your next session, but thank you so much. You guys check out Kim's new book, Inside Out, A Journey to Inner Peace, and it's available on Amazon. You got to check it out. And Erik, I love you.
Thank you.
Kim, do you want to share any events that are coming up before we close?
He says, I love you, Mom. He has his hand on his hip. He's like, I love you, Mom. He's blowing you kisses. You guys can find out information about my upcoming events where I travel, put on workshops and talks, and channel spirit for you guys all around the U.S. You can find information on those events on my website at kimbabcock.net, and you select the page Upcoming Events. And all the information and itineraries will be there. So if you have questions, please feel free to send me an email through my website as well. So thank you guys so much for watching and listening.
Bella says hi. She looks huge in the camera, but she's only 3.5 pounds. But
she's teeny. She's tiny.
Yeah, everybody says, oh my God, she's smaller than she looked like on TV. Well,
that's so true.
TV makes you gain 15 pounds. So, all right, people. Bye. Love you, Kim.
Bye-bye. Love you too. I'm glad you're feeling better. Stay well.
Okay, thank you. You too. Bye.
Thank you.
¡Prepárate!